At 1:47 in the morning, Eli Carter sat beneath the blue light of his computer while a game continued without him. His character stood motionless in a burning city. Beside the keyboard, 3 envelopes lay unopened. One carried the electric company's red warning stripe. Another had the landlord's name printed across the corner. Through the thin apartment wall, Eli heard his father speaking in the kitchen. "One more week," Marcus said quietly. "I'll have something by Friday." Eli lowered the game volume. He listened until the call ended, then raised it again. The next morning, he woke with his cheek pressed against the desk. His 12-year-old sister, June, was in the kitchen spreading peanut butter across 2 slices of bread. "Dad already left," she said. Eli looked at the clock and stood so quickly that his chair struck the wall. His shift had started 11 minutes earlier. At the grocery store, his supervisor waited beside an unopened pallet. "One more late arrival," she said, holding out a written warning, "and I stop putting you on the schedule." Eli signed without reading it. For the rest of the day, he stocked cans, flattened boxes, and watched customers push full carts toward lives that seemed to be moving somewhere. Near the end of his shift, an older man approached the customer service counter. He wore a brown coat with carefully repaired cuffs and carried an empty leather strap in one hand. "I left a wooden case near the canned goods," he said. "About this wide." Eli found it beneath a display of soup. When he opened the lid, he saw 6 watches arranged in faded blue fabric. Some had cracked faces. One had no hands. Another ticked twice, stopped, then ticked again. "You repair these?" Eli asked. The man nodded. Eli lifted one slightly, studying the tiny screws around its back. "I used to take apart radios," he said. "When I was a kid." "Taking things apart is easy," the man replied. "Putting them back together requires patience." His name was Arthur Bell. Before leaving, he wrote an address on the back of a grocery receipt. "If you're serious, come tomorrow at 7. The next evening, Eli planned to go. He returned home after work, ate standing beside the sink, and opened his computer for one quick game. When he looked at the time again, it was 7:11. He ran 3 blocks, missed the bus, and reached Arthur's workshop at 7:26. Arthur was locking the door. "The bus was slow," Eli said. Arthur pointed through the window. A large clock hung above the workbench. It showed the same time as Eli's phone. "Tomorrow," Arthur said. The following evening, Eli arrived 4 minutes late. Arthur did not unlock the door. On the 3rd evening, Eli reached the workshop at 6:42. He waited outside with his hands in his pockets while rain collected along the curb. At 7, Arthur let him in. The workshop was no larger than a bedroom. Shelves covered every wall. Small drawers carried handwritten labels. Beneath a green lamp, silver tools lay in perfect rows. Eli expected Arthur to place a watch in front of him. Instead, Arthur handed him a tray filled with screws, gears, springs, and pins. "Separate them by type." For 2 hours, Eli bent over the tray. The smallest parts seemed to disappear whenever he looked directly at them. His phone vibrated. As he reached for it, his sleeve caught the edge of the tray. Hundreds of pieces scattered across the floor. Eli stared at them. Arthur placed a broom beside his chair and returned to his work. Eli spent the next hour collecting every piece. He came back the following evening. Then again 2 days later. For nights each week, he entered the workshop after his grocery shift. He cleaned tools, organized drawers, wound test mechanisms, and practiced lifting screws with tweezers until his fingertips cramped. He bent a spring. He stripped the head of a screw. He placed a gear backward and spent 40 minutes wondering why the mechanism would not move. Arthur rarely corrected him immediately. He made Eli write each mistake in a black notebook. At home, June asked why he no longer played games with her. "I'm busy," Eli said. "Doing what?" Nothing yet. He did not tell Marcus about the workshop. He imagined explaining that he spent his evenings sorting screws for an old man. The words sounded foolish before he even spoke them. Marcus noticed only that Eli returned late. "We're behind on rent," he said one night. "You vanish after work, and I'm supposed to pretend it's fine. I'm trying to do something." "Then tell me what it is." Eli looked toward his bedroom. "It's not ready." The new routine began wearing through him. He slept past his alarm and arrived late at the grocery store again. His supervisor handed him a final notice. That evening, Arthur placed an old railway watch beneath the lamp. Its brass case was worn smooth along the edges. "It belonged to a conductor," Arthur said. "He carried it for 40 years. Eli felt the weight of Arthur's trust. He also felt the need to prove he deserved it. He opened the case too quickly. When a screw resisted, he pressed harder. His hand slipped. A thin balance spring folded beneath the tool. The room went still. Arthur lifted the damaged part and held it beneath the light. "Go home," he said. "I can fix it." "You don't know why it broke." "My hand slipped." Arthur looked at him. "Come back when you have a better answer." 3 days later, the grocery store cut Eli's hours. That same week, the apartment went dark. June sat at the kitchen table beneath a battery-powered camping lamp, finishing her math homework. Marcus stared at the shut-off notice with both hands flat against the table. While searching for a flashlight, he found Eli's notebook inside a jacket. He turned through pages of diagrams, measurements, crossed-out calculations, and lists of mistakes. "You've been learning this for months?" Marcus asked. Eli nodded. "Why didn't you tell us?" "I wanted to wait until I was good." Marcus closed the notebook. "We didn't need you to be impressive," he said. "We needed you to be dependable." Eli carried the camping lamp into his room. His computer screen lit the wall when he switched it on. The game opened to a list of achievements collected over 3 years: cities conquered, weapons unlocked, hours counted and preserved. He rested his hand on the mouse. Then he deleted the account. The room did not feel transformed. It felt empty. He placed Arthur's damaged spring beneath the lamp and opened his notebook. For the first time, he stopped writing about the tool, the angle, or the pressure. He wrote about himself. He had not broken the spring because his hand slipped. He had broken it because he wanted to look skilled before he had learned to be careful. The next evening, Eli returned to the workshop. He placed the spring, the notebook, and an envelope of cash on Arthur's bench. "I rushed because I wanted you to think I was ready," he said. "I wasn't watching the mechanism. I was watching myself." Arthur counted enough money to cover the replacement part and pushed the rest back. Then he placed a box of discarded watches in front of Eli. "No deadlines," he said. Eli began again. He left his phone at home. He checked every movement twice. He arrived before Arthur and waited outside even when the weather turned cold. At home, he wrote his weekly hours on a sheet of paper and taped it to the refrigerator. He gave Marcus part of every paycheck. He began making June's lunch before leaving for the morning shift. No one congratulated him. Nothing changed quickly. For weeks, the watches in Arthur's discard box refused to run. Then one ticked for 7 seconds. Another lasted 3 minutes. A third ran through the night. Months later, Arthur was repairing a retirement watch for a longtime customer when his hands began to shake. He moved away from the bench. "You clean it," he told Eli. Eli disassembled the movement and arranged the parts in order. Beneath the magnifying lens, he noticed a faint line across one gear tooth. He almost dismissed it. Instead, he turned the gear toward Arthur. "There's a fracture." Arthur examined it. "You're sure?" "No," Eli said. "But I think it will fail under tension." Arthur studied the gear again, then nodded. You make the replacement. Eli shaped a new tooth from a blank part while Arthur watched. He worked through the night, stopping whenever his hands tightened. Near dawn, he placed the final component into position. The watch began ticking. Arthur listened for several seconds. Then he opened the repair ledger, turned it toward himself, and wrote Eli Carter beside his own name. The customer who collected the watch managed a regional jewelry store. When he asked who had found the damaged gear, Arthur pointed to Eli. A week later, Eli was offered a paid trainee position with regular hours and a path toward certification. The salary was not remarkable. It was enough. With his first full paycheck, Eli paid the overdue electric bill. He placed a printed household budget on the kitchen table and showed Marcus what he could contribute each month. Marcus read every line. Then he looked toward the small practice watch Eli had brought home. Could you show June how that works? That evening, June sat beside Eli at the old computer desk. The monitor was gone. In its place stood a lamp, a tray of tools, and the black notebook filled with corrected mistakes. June tried to lower a gear into the mechanism. It slipped from her tweezers. She groaned and pushed the tool away. Eli reached toward it, then stopped. He reset the tray and turned it back toward her. On the shelf above them, the conductor's restored watch marked each second with a steady sound. Eli waited. June picked up the tweezers and tried again.